You write Java code every day. But have you ever wondered what actually happens when you hit run? Where do your variables go? Where do objects live? And who cleans up memory when you're done? Today we're going deep inside the Java virtual machine. Stack, heap, method area. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how Java runs your code under the hood. Let's start with the big question. You compile your Java file. You type Java hello. Your program runs. But what's going on behind the scenes? When you write int x equals 5, where does that 5 get stored? When you write new student, where does that object live? And when you're done with it, who frees that memory? These are not just interview questions. Understanding this makes you a fundamentally better Java developer. Here's the journey. You write a .java file. The Java compiler, Javac, converts it into a .class file, that's bytecode. Bytecode is not machine code, your CPU can't run it directly. That's where the JVM comes in. The Java virtual machine reads this bytecode and either interprets it or compiles it to native code on the fly. This is why Java is platform independent. You write code once, the JVM handles the platform-specific stuff. Write once, run anywhere. So what exactly is the JVM? A virtual machine is software that pretends to be a computer. It takes bytecode and runs it, just like a real CPU would run machine code. But it's not a physical chip. It's a program. The JVM handles everything: memory management, security checks, code execution. And because each operating system, Windows, Mac, Linux, has its own JVM implementation, your bytecode runs everywhere without changes. That's the magic of write once, run anywhere. Before we go deeper, let's clear up three terms people always confuse: JDK, JRE, and JVM. Think of it like a kitchen. The JDK is the full kitchen. It has the compiler Javac, debugging tools, and everything you need to develop Java programs. The JRE is the oven plus ingredients. It's the runtime environment, the JVM plus all the standard libraries needed to run a Java program. And the JVM? That's just the oven, the actual engine that executes bytecode. A developer needs the JDK to write and compile code. An end user only needs the JRE to run it. And inside the JRE sits the JVM doing the heavy lifting. The JVM has three big components. First, the class loader. It's responsible for loading your .class files into memory. Second, the runtime memory areas. This is where all data is stored while your program runs. Stack, heap, method area, all of these. Third, the execution engine. This actually runs your bytecode. Think of it like a restaurant. Someone delivers the ingredients, that's the class loader. The kitchen stores them, that's memory. And the chef cooks the food, that's the execution engine. Let's look at each one. The class loader has three phases. Loading, it reads your .class file from disk and creates a representation in memory. Linking, this has three substeps. Verification checks that the bytecode is valid and safe. Preparation allocates memory for static variables and sets default values. Resolution converts symbolic references into actual memory addresses. Finally, initialization. This is where static variables get their real values and static blocks execute. There are three class loaders arranged in a hierarchy. The Bootstrap loader handles core Java classes like java.lang and java.util. The extension loader handles extension libraries. And the application loader handles your own classes from the class path. Now the heart of this video, JVM memory areas. There are 5. 3 are per thread, meaning each thread gets its own copy. The stack, the PC register, and the native method stack. 2 are shared, all threads access the same one. The heap and the method area. The stack is your method's workspace. The heap is where all objects live. The method area stores class-level information, like blueprints. The PC register tracks which bytecode instruction is currently executing. And the native method stack handles methods written in C or C++. Let's dive deep into the big three: stack, heap, and method area. The stack. Every thread in Java gets its own private stack. When you call a method, the JVM creates a new stack frame and pushes it on top. This frame holds everything that method needs: local variables, an operand stack for intermediate calculations, and a return address so the JVM knows where to go back. When the method finishes, the frame is popped off the stack. Last in, First out, just like a stack of plates at a buffet. You always pick from the top and put on top. Let's trace it. Main method starts, stack frame for main is created. It stores answers and result. Main calls calculator with 5 and 3, new frame pushed on top. That frame holds L equals 5, W equals 3, and area. Calculator calls multiply, another frame pushed. Multiply has a equals 5, B equals 3. It computes 15 and returns. Multiply's frame is popped. Control returns to calculator. Area gets 15, it returns. That frame is popped. Back in main, result is 15. Print it. Main finishes, last frame popped. Stack is empty. Program done. Key properties of the stack. It's thread private, each thread has its own, no synchronization needed. It's auto-managed, when a method returns, memory is instantly reclaimed. No garbage collector involved. Access is very fast because it's always the top of the stack, no searching. But, it has a limited size. You can configure it with the -XSS flag, but it's usually small. And if you overflow it, say, with infinite recursion, you get the famous Stack Overflow error. The heap. This is where all objects live. When you write new student with name Rahul, that student object is created in the heap. The reference variable, the thing that points to the object, that lives on the stack. But the actual object data, its fields, its name, its age, all of that is in the heap. Unlike the stack, the heap is shared across all threads. Any thread can access any object on the heap if it has a reference. And because objects can lie for a long time, the heap is managed by the garbage collector, which periodically cleans up objects nobody is using anymore. The heap is divided into generations. The young generation has 3 spaces, Eden, Survivor 0, and Survivor 1. Every new object starts in Eden. When Eden fills up, a minor garbage collection happens. Objects that survive get moved to a Survivor space. After surviving several rounds, they get promoted to the old generation. Why this design? Because research shows most objects in Java are short-lived. You create a temporary string, use it once, and it's done. So the JVM optimizes for this, collect young objects frequently and cheaply, and only do expensive full collections on old objects rarely. Let's compare them side by side. The stack stores primitive values, int, double, boolean, and references to objects. The heap stores the actual objects and arrays. The stack is thread local, super fast, and cleans up automatically when methods return. The heap is shared across threads, relatively slower, and needs the garbage collector to clean up. Here's a good analogy. Think of the reference as an address written on a piece of paper that's on the stack. The actual house, the object, is on the heap. Multiple papers can point to the same house. And when nobody has the address anymore, the garbage collector demolishes it. Let's trace a real example. Line 1, int age equals 21. Age is a primitive, it goes directly on the stack. Line 2, string name equals Rahul. The reference name goes on the stack. The actual string object lives in the heap, in the string pool. Line 3, new student. The reference S goes on the stack. The student object is created on the heap. Inside that heap object, age is stored as 21, and name points to the string Rahul also in the heap. When createStudent returns, the stack frame is popped. The references are gone. But the objects on the heap remain until the garbage collector finds nobody is pointing to them anymore. The method area. This is where the JVM stores class-level information. When you load student.class, its entire blueprint goes here, the class name, its parent class, what interfaces it implements, all its method bytecode, static variables, and the runtime constant pool which holds literals and symbolic references. Think of it as a blueprint room. The heap stores actual houses, objects. The method area stores the blueprints from which those houses are built. This area is shared across all threads because class definitions don't change, every thread reads from the same blueprint. Quick history. Before Java 8, the method area was implemented as the permanent generation, PermGen. It had a fixed size and was part of the heap. If you loaded too many classes, common in big application servers, you'd get the dreaded out-of-memory error PermGen space. Java 8 replaced PermGen with Metaspace. Metaspace lives in native memory, outside the heap, and grows dynamically. You don't have to manually size it. This was a huge improvement. But you can still get an out-of-memory error metaspace if your application loads an enormous number of classes without unloading them, like in hot deployment scenarios. The execution engine is what actually runs your code. It has three components. The interpreter reads bytecode one instruction at a time and executes it. Simple, but slow, especially for code that runs thousands of times in a loop. That's where the JIT compiler comes in, just in time. It watches for hot methods called very frequently, and compiles them directly to native machine code. After that, those methods run at near-C speed. And the third component is the garbage collector. Its job is to scan the heap, find objects nobody references anymore, and free that memory. These three work together to make Java both flexible and fast. Unlike C or C++, you never manually free memory in Java. The garbage collector handles it automatically. Here's how it works. First, mark. The GC traces from root references and marks every object that's still reachable. Sweep. Everything not marked gets deleted. Compact. Surviving objects are moved together to eliminate gaps. There are different levels. Minor GC cleans the young generation. It's fast and frequent because most young objects are already dead. Major GC cleans the old generation. It's rarer but takes longer. And full GC cleans everything, the young gen, old gen, and sometimes even metaspace. Full GCs can cause noticeable pauses, so production systems try to minimize them. Now the best part, with everything you've learned, these errors finally make sense. Stack Overflow error, the stack ran out of space. Usually infinite recursion, a method calling itself with no base case. Each call adds a frame, stack overflows. Out-of-memory error Java heap space, the heap is full and GC can't free enough. Usually a memory leak, you're holding references to objects you no longer need, so GC can't clean them. Out-of-memory error metaspace, too many classes loaded into the method area. Common in application servers with frequent redeployments. Now you know exactly which memory area each error comes from and why. Let's recap everything. The JVM is a virtual machine that runs Java bytecode. The class loader brings your code in, loading, linking, and initializing classes. The stack is each thread's private workspace. Method frames go on and off in LY for order. The heap is the shared warehouse where all objects live, managed by the garbage collector. The method area stores class blueprints, static variables, and method bytecode. And the execution engine ties it together. The interpreter handles code line by line, the JIT compiler optimizes hot paths, and the garbage collector keeps memory clean. That's JVM internals. If this helped, like and subscribe. See you in the next one.